Welcome to Sharing My Truth with Mel and Suzie, the uncensored version, where we bear it all.
We do.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, welcome back to Sharing My Truth Pod. Hello, babes.
Hello, darling. How are you doing?
I am absolutely excellent. How are you?
Pretty good, actually.
Are you pretty good?
Yeah, that's a very British thing to say. We can never sort of give it 100%. It's just
Right.
pretty good. Or
I'm
I'm
pretty
doing
good.
all right. Or, you know,
The sky's grey.
that sort of thing.
My
yeah.
balls are blue.
No, but okay.
Well, just want to remind everyone to please rate and review this podcast. It really helps us out in the long run to make people find us and, you know, just become more of our community. And don't forget to follow us on Insta and the TikTok. And by the way, Mel, you are pretty much the TikTok queen, as we say.
I was a TikTok virgin. And
Yes.
then I joined TikTok.
Yes,
And I quite like it. I'm a little bit of a tickety-tocked queen.
I know you are.
And I'm a scroller. And I scroll through.
I get exhausted by it.
And
it's so much.
The stuff is sort of wild. But I sort of prefer the fact it's very different to Instagram.
Yeah.
And it's not so posy. So
Yeah.
that's quite nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it is obviously all bollocks and everyone's like pretending to be something they're not. But sometimes it's quite good. And there's like a huge variety of stuff. Like you think it's just, I suppose because I've got 2 teenage girls, I thought it was just teenage shit like ASMR, you know, people
Eat
eating pickles and
Yeah.
chicken and whatever. And of course, I've looked at all of those, so I was like, oh my God, there's no way I'd ever want to look at that
Yeah.
or whatever. But actually, there's I think pretty much everyone's had to join TikTok. So there's everything from every comedian, politician, like
100%.
podcasts, like everything's on there. And yeah, I quite like it.
Well, I mean, we've actually gotten some pretty hilarious comments on ours, and you know, you've been posting some really great stuff on our TikTok, and a lot of them. So one of the ones that have gotten the most comments is one of our videos that's asking. Someone wrote in,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, they're like, "Is it okay, my man, if he doesn't want children?" He got a vasectomy without telling me.
Yeah.
And some of the comments are like, what's the problem? His body, his choice.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, I do actually kind of agree with that. Even though it's like, yeah, maybe it's your partner and you should be talking about this with them. At the end of the day, if he doesn't want kids, that's his choice. Maybe those two were not meant to be together.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that. I mean, I thought it's interesting how people's views are so polarized. So some, like, one woman was like, you know, I don't even leave my house kind of thing without my husband or my partner or whatever, you know, finding out what they're doing. So I think it's such a huge variety of comments about the subjects and that's the thing that I think is wild.
Yeah.
Like things I thought were just kind of like a baseline, they're not. There's no baseline.
Yeah.
It's like all over the place.
Yeah,
And
you
then
can talk whatever you
about
want.
like cheating,
Mhm.
like everyone has a completely different opinion about it, like completely different.
100%. Like, and I mean, I love to hear what these people have to say. Like, hold on, I'm just going to read.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, like, I mean, like some of these comments, like, I don't see the problem. He doesn't want kids anyways, and it's his body, so he can make his own decisions about his body. This decision shouldn't need whatever, her opinion.
Right.
Yeah, because he doesn't want kids anyways. And it's like, yeah, actually, it's like, why do we talk? Should we ask man if it's his baby if we should get an abortion or not? Like, no.
No, but I do think that's different personally.
Yeah.
I do think that the thing about the vasectomy, from my personal opinion, is like, well, if you've got nothing to hide, why don't you just share it? But then on the other hand, I suppose it could be like, well, why do I need to share it? Because we've just talked about this. So I do see both points of view. But it's kind of funny that TikTok, you think, is the domain of the Gen Z.
Yeah.
But actually, there's all these other people on it, which is the thing that I find hilarious. So it's not just one side of the story. It's like lots of people, and who say the fucking wildest things on there.
And
And
finding
you're like,
out,
okay.
you can find out so many things that you didn't realize you were interested in.
Yes. Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
And I mean, like, you can learn so much.
But also, like, we did a post about our past episode, which was about monogamy and polyamory, or as you like to put it, polyamory and monogamy.
yes, exactly.
And somebody who actually said polygamy, and you're like, no, polygamy.
Yeah.
So the point is like, oh my God, a thing that I thought, a term,
Yeah.
polyamory, I thought was pretty like everyone knows what
Yeah.
that means. You may not know what the variations of it mean, but you know, or how different people choose to live their lives within polyamory.
Yeah.
But you know what you know that polyamory and polygamy are different. But apparently,
People don't,
you
though.
can be on TikTok and not know that.
And then we teach them.
There you are. But there are grannies on TikTok. There are all sorts on TikTok.
There's all sorts.
I'm positively young.
But
on
this
TikTok.
is what we're saying, okay? This is kind of bringing us into our topic today,
It is.
which is we're going to be talking about fantasies and most, in the realm of sexual fantasies, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, on the way of like social media, and it's kind of you find out things that you were interested in, you didn't realize it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I think
Just like
that's,
the way that I scroll porn, I'm like, oh, that could be interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah,
That could be something to try.
yeah,
Yeah,
Knitting.
knitting,
Yes, Susie.
knitting while you're getting
Did you say
banged
knitting?
up. Yeah, knitting. There's everything on Pornhub.
Knitting while you are okay.
Getting doggied.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to knit? It's really boring.
It's really that's what I'm saying. Maybe you'll enjoy it more
No,
if
I
you're
don't
getting
think I'd ever
doggied while you're doing it.
No, I'll never enjoy knitting. It's absolutely
You're never gonna
awful.
make me a sweater,
No.
but you'll get one for Christmas.
You'll never get
From
a
me.
sweater,
No.
a sweater made by me, or a meal. I'm afraid. A piece of toast, cheese and crackers, a nice cup of tea,
Oh, you make a
lovely
nice cup of
glass of
tea.
wine.
Mhm.
You're never getting any actual substantial food or a sweater. I'll buy you a sweater. Not knitting you a sweater.
Fine, but it'll
I'm
go
not
into my
baking a cake.
fantasies. Okay, it's gonna go into my fantasies of Mel making me a full meal.
Wow. So that will definitely stay in the realm of fantasy. My husband's fantasizing about that.
Yeah,
let
I
alone
bet
me.
he
Yeah,
is.
it's never gonna happen.
Oh man, so I want to know, Mel, do you have any fantasies that you want to share with us?
That's a good question.
Do you not think about it? I'm sure you do.
Well,
You just don't want to say. You don't have to say.
I can't think of actually anything specific
Mhm.
I want to say.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be cagey. I mean, obviously everyone has them. But I do feel that, is this a thing? Like people have fantasies and then they sort of forget about them.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like things
sort of
bring
have
up things, and then you're like, oh yeah,
and then you sort
yeah,
of-
of course.
I mean, in terms of like how many fantasies you have a day, I don't.
Not really.
I'm trying to scroll
Scroll
rack
your
my
brain.
for
Scroll your
today's
brain. TikTok
fantasy,
queen. Scroll your brain.
and I can't think of it. Which
Oh my
doesn't
god, I have
make
so
me-
many fantasies.
You
It's
have a lot.
unbelievable.
This is not hard to believe.
I spend
To be
most of my
frank.
day thinking about sex.
Really?
Like it's probably a problem.
Like how
It's
much
not a
of
problem, but
how
like-
much of a percentage of the day would you say?
At least half the day.
Wow.
Because if I see a man or a woman that I
Just-
might find attractive, I'm gonna think about fucking them.
Really?
I'm not gonna do anything about it, but they're gonna go into my little bank in my brain and being like,
Wow.
that person was cute.
Right. So you completely crack the theory that men have more fantasies than women. That's just
100%. I think
complete-
that's absolutely, if I may use a term of yours, bollocks.
very good.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I absolutely, yeah. Women have, I believe, just as many.
I think
Maybe more
that's
because
true.
we're more imaginative, honestly. And
Yeah.
I might get some hate on that, but I do believe women are a bit more creative, a bit more imaginative, especially with their fantasies
Yeah.
than men.
I think that's true. I think it's just like the nature
Yeah.
of what you're fantasizing about. Maybe it's just a little bit more PG than what a man's fantasizing about.
I don't think so. I think
No.
women are dirty, dirty bitches.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right.
And Mel, I know you don't want to say, but I bet you got some nasty girl fantasies in you.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think you do. And you don't have to say them. It's okay. We'll keep them in the bedroom.
Nasty girl
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think everything is okay. Like I think I
of
think
course,
the
everything's
most
okay.
I think the most
I mean, as long as it's a fantasy and
well,
stays
exactly.
legal.
If it's
I mean, there are some very strange people out there.
yes,
And
there
so-
yes, there are.
I do think like most people have and the sort of the statistics about what the sort of general genre of fantasy is. And I think it's pretty standard, you know, people fantasizing about having sex with the opposite sex if they don't, or threesomes, or being tied up, or having sex in a field, or whatever the hell they're doing, or in a whatever.
Absolutely.
And all those things that they may or may not do.
Yeah.
But then there's some really fucking weird, creepy shit that I don't even really want to think about what those people are thinking about.
Because you can't. How are we supposed to think? We're not creepy people around now, right? We're not like, people think of the most crazy shit, and as long as they're not hurting people in real life by like
absolutely
putting that to reality,
it's fantasy, yeah, the realm of the fantasy.
It's incredible. I mean, like, Mel,
yeah.
If you, because we were talking briefly together, and I'm playing footsie with you now.
Yeah.
We were talking briefly before about what is it, micro cheating?
Yes.
And micro cheating, I don't know if it's an actual thing, but is it
It's in Google, therefore it's real.
Fucking Google. It's Urban Dictionary, so it's a thing. Micro cheating, is it micro cheating if you are fantasizing with someone else? Is that micro cheating?
No.
It's just
That's
you're acting
different.
on the micro cheating.
Yeah, it's all about intent, isn't it?
It is.
If you, I mean, it's like anything you do in your life. If there is intent behind what you're doing, i.e., you know, you're talking to this person online or whatever because you like the way they talk to you, or you're, and perhaps while you're talking, you're fantasizing about your relationship. That's a different thing. But fantasizing about other people, I think that's fairly normal. I think most people have done that.
100%.
That's different. But I think, so micro fantasizing, is that a thing?
Well, no, macro fantasizing though.
Macro
That's all.
fantasizing.
That's the only thing I want to do.
Macro fantasy, what is that? An orgy?
Maybe
Wow.
a macro fantasy. Yeah,
A macro fantasy.
absolutely.
Well, that sounds like it's a thing. I'm not sure what it is.
No, we're gonna make it a thing though. I think, Mel.
Well, you can.
Yeah, okay,
By
I
all
will.
means, off you go.
All
You
right.
make it a thing.
Who wants to be in my fantasy orgy?
Yeah. Well, you never know
Oh,
what,
that's so
what
funny.
stream of weirdos is going to answer that.
That's true.
But I think the main thing is that fantasies are completely normal. It's
Yes.
completely normal human thing, male, female, whatever gender. It's completely normal.
Yeah,
It's part of life.
everyone has fantasies.
Yeah. I think there's also, I did read somewhere about, you know, what you're dreaming about, as in when you're asleep, and obviously you don't remember that.
Right.
Or fantasies during the day. They're different.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting that you say you spend a lot, 50% of your day
So much.
fantasizing. Is that
Literally
when
so
you're
much.
bored?
No, it just comes in. It just comes into my brain.
It just pops into your brain.
Yeah, it's fucked up. My brain is fucked.
I don't think that's fucked, because
No, it's not fucked. I'm just like,
you're a very,
I can't help it. I literally cannot help. I'm also just I'm a very visual person.
Yeah, I don't think that's weird at all.
No. I mean,
It's a lot of time.
yeah, I mean, I'm probably exaggerating, but
Isn't it exhausting?
I'm exhausted. This is why I sleep so much.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about too many things,
yeah.
you know? But yeah, I mean, if I do see someone, then I'm like, or
I very rarely see anybody. Maybe that's the problem.
maybe I just feel like
It's a rare thing.
there's-
I see
yeah.
a lot of creepy people. And maybe that's because of my age. The people that are, you know, come up to me and chat me up, and you're like, run for the hills. in the
Well, this is
opposite
something we
direction.
also talk about. We spoke about briefly on our social media. Was we asked, what did you ask? You were like, would you rather?
Oh, yes. Would you rather spend another 10 years with your partner that you're with right now, or sleep with your celebrity crush? And I think a lot of people would go for the second one.
Well, I mean, like, if it's a fantasy of yours to
Yeah, but-
do this,
But that's it. Then it's done. You can't go back. I mean,
you
that's
still be
the thing.
friends.
I'd get celebrity. I don't know. I'm not sure that. I mean, I can't think I've thought about that really. I mean, it's like, what's the point?
Yeah, like, is there potential to like have a relationship with them after?
Zero potential for this. But yeah, I mean, I think the thing about fantasies though is I think in the last however many years, I think it's fairly recent that people are normalizing it. I think certainly when I was younger before that, I think it was like, oh no, hush, that's something like people don't do, which is completely ridiculous because of course it's something. And even in my facts later, I will tell you there is a link, especially in women, between their hormones and fantasizing, like 100%. When their menstrual when they're ovulating and stuff like that they sort of fantasize. It's biological, in other words.
Well, what's amazing about
which makes sense, doesn't it?
What's amazing about our brains?
You're hornier at different points for obvious reasons.
Yeah. I mean, like,
which means your brain wanders.
Yes, exactly. And like when you can literally there's abilities. I haven't figured this out yet, but there's abilities to train your brain to make yourself come by not even touching yourself, right? Like in the way of like tantric sex, and meditation, and all these things completely connected to your body and your brain, and you can literally have an orgasm just by fantasizing, not touching yourself. Like that's incredible. That's what your brain can do.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah. That's a lot. Like if while you're awake.
Of course. Yeah. Not while you're dreaming. Not like having a wet dream, but like literally. Literally being able to just like have a fantasy or like just getting really in touch with it, doing the breath work and coming.
You just sort of think, what's the point of that though?
It's like a challenge. It's like a mental, sexual,
mental challenge.
You know?
This sounds utterly exhausting, Susie. She can't be asked.
That's so funny. Well, it's just like meditating. Meditating's fucking exhausting.
Yeah,
but
I've never been a big one for meditating.
That does not surprise me.
It's like, it's so like if anybody who knows me, they're like, yeah, no, she doesn't meditate.
That's
I can't even stand yoga. I just find the whole thing really annoying. Like,
well,
okay,
you're go,
chop,
baby.
Let's get on with it. It's like, this is all very boring.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's just like meditating is just like, it's so, when you can get good at it.
Oh no, it's good. I think it's good. I think people should do it, and it's on all the sort of gurus and the people, you know, blah blah blah. I just personally am never going to be able to do it.
What about like tantric sex?
Tantric sex.
Yeah,
that's what Sting did, didn't he? That's
I don't know.
Like
I think
8 hours. Is that like when you have 8-hour sex sessions?
I don't think
that's
just
sex?
what it is. I'm sure that's a part of it. But I think, I mean, tantric sex, that's a huge fantasy of, I think, a lot of women's, and that emotional connection, trying to get into the, like, trying to get completely into your body and just like, doing everything to make yourself come.
Yeah. And I think that's probably very hard for most people. And a lot of women.
Yeah, because you just want to get to it. Like, ma'am, right here.
Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Yeah. Get to the point. Come on, get on with it. No, I'm not like that at all. That's terrible. That would be awful. Like if you sort of said to your, there's a scene in Sex and the City from years ago when, can't remember which character sort of says, do you remember that?
No.
When she says, what's the one who's I can't
the
say
redhead?
Ginger, yeah.
Oh,
a ginghers we call.
You can call gingers ginger.
Yeah.
You can call me a ginger.
It's not a nice thing in England.
Oh, it's not.
No.
Well, you can call me a ginger. I don't fucking care.
I wouldn't say you're ginger, but anyway, you're more Auburn. But anyway,
say it dirty.
But she says that, which we are coming
Miranda.
off the topic of fantasies, but Miranda.
Yeah.
She says they're all like having their brunch that they do, and she says, "Oh yeah, I told him the other day, I'll just get on with it."
Oh.
And they all go, and it is like the worst possible horrible thing you could say, particularly to a man. I mean, talk about it going floppy.
We were also talking about this on our social bit, being like, do you fake an orgasm?
Yes.
Sometimes you kind of have to get on with it.
To get on with your day,
You
Susie.
don't, exactly. You don't
to move on with your fantasies, to get back to all those fantasies.
Exactly.
Because it's not happening. Chop, chop, let's move on.
Chop, chop, let's move on. It's just a nicer way of saying chop, chop.
Yes, it is. And I think also sometimes you might do it, or one might have done it in one's past to not hurt the other person's feelings, is what
100%.
you're saying. Yeah.
So, like, what if you have a partner who's not into the same fantasies that you are?
That's a very, very good question.
You know, like, if you really want to be completely open and honest and all these boring goddamn things about relationships. I'm just kidding.
Susie, communication.
But, like, what if you're like, okay, I want to tell my partner this, and you do, and then they're like, that is fucking weird.
And they think,
I'm never doing that with you. We're breaking up.
Well, I think
Maybe
you
not
shouldn't-
that extreme, but
you
like,
shouldn't be with that person.
yeah.
I mean, I do think sometimes it can take a while, like somebody's into something and it can take a while to communicate.
Yeah.
I think there's certain things that for some people are a hard, fast no, and you have to make that clear. You have to make clear what your boundaries are. I do think during the course of a relationship, your boundaries will shift as you kind of evolve, the other person evolves, and that's fine, but you have to communicate that. But if you do have a fantasy and you must think it's a bit weird if you're worried about telling your partner. But I think it depends on the level of your relationship. I mean, if you have a great relationship where you communicate, I don't think it should be an issue, and you could have a laugh about it. And I think things like that, you should have a laugh, and it should be a bit funny, because it's not serious. It's just fun, and sex at the end of the day is meant to be fun.
So true.
It's not meant to be this arduous thing we're all performing all the time. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be relaxing. It's meant to feel good. Feel good? Don't know what I'm saying today.
Feel good, yes, I would hope so.
No, it sounded weird when I said. But and I think that if you can't share a fantasy, unless it's super weird
Maybe. Well,
and
what's
creepy.
But that's the
No,
thing.
you're in the realm of creepy. Like, let's say, you know, I don't know, you're into peeing or shitting on somebody.
Hey, we're not into kink shaming here,
No,
Mel.
that's true. But I do think I might go,
That's not for me.
that's not for me. No,
Yeah.
I completely agree. If you're both into whatever you're into and you're both
Yeah.
into it, that's completely fine. You do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But if it's like completely off the charts to what you were doing before,
Yeah.
it's like, what? You know, it's a bit like our last episode when we were talking about one of our previous episodes when we were talking about your sexuality changing.
Yeah.
It's very confusing.
Yeah.
Because if you were like, oh no, I think like this, and then all of a sudden you're like, I was married to a man. Oh no, now I like this woman. It's all very confusing. So
It's like, what the hell
if
do
you
you
had
do?
fantasies and you communicate with your partner, and normally it's about, you know, let's say being tied up or whatever, and then all of a sudden you're, no, I want to have an orgy in, you know, with a gimp mask on in a sex show in Berlin.
Damn.
That was specific, wasn't it?
Wow, Mel, is that your fantasy, girl?
It's funny. Then it's like, wow, where did that come from? Kind
Yeah.
of thing. If you've never talked about it, I think it can be pretty like, well, but I've said that before about communicating. If you don't communicate and you don't talk, and then all of a sudden you decide, right, I'm going to tell
Yeah.
the person that, you know, I'm bisexual, your partner, I'm bisexual, or I'm bi-curious, or I have these fantasies about this, and they're like, what the hell? And it's 5-10 years into it, and they're like, where's that come from? Or
Yeah.
I fantasize about men if it's a man, or whatever it is. Then it's a bit like out of left field.
Yeah.
Whereas if you talk openly and you kind of laugh about stuff, then I think it's fine.
Yeah. I will say, though, like, some people are just vanilla in bed. And that's how.
Beige apparently is the term.
Oh, is beige now the term?
A sexpert once told me that.
Wow. Well, people are beige, they're vanilla, they're a little bit boring, if you want to say. And
Oh,
that's how
yes.
they like it. And that's all they want. Maybe they fantasize, but it's not as crazy as you want it. And they don't have to, you know, deal with your fantasies. That is something that you might have to deal with on your own, but you also might just not be compatible.
Do you
in
mean
bed
if one
together.
person's beige?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not saying if two beige people get together, I'm sure
Yeah.
that's great, you know.
Yeah.
But like, if you're a very openly sexual person with a lot of fantasies or whatever, and you're about, and like, you know, you're gonna have sex with a vanilla person, and you're gonna tell them about your fantasies, they're gonna be like, I don't want to do any of that, and that's totally okay.
But would you be
you're gonna have
drawn to a beige person?
I don't know. People are drawn to the opposites. You know, opposites attract all
Yeah.
the time.
That's true.
But I mean, I have no idea if it would actually.
But being beige, just as a digression from this,
Yes.
years ago, one of my friends, I was at a dinner party, and one of her friends is a sexpert.
Oh my God! Yes.
Yeah, and she was pretty amazing actually. We had this conversation, but I think she used the term, pretty sure it was beige, about people, and I was like, wow, I'm not beige.
What did she say the beige was? Did
Well,
she
it's like literally very standard, like
Yeah.
missionary,
Missionary.
and also like maybe not into oral. And you would be surprised the amount of people who are beige who you didn't think were beige.
I absolutely agree with that.
And you're like, what? And they'll say, ooh, you know, about something. You're like, what do you mean, ooh, about? I mean, I know friends who have issues with blowjobs. I'm like, what do you mean you have an
That's
issue with
crazy.
blowjob? How is that even possible to have a sexual relationship and be married
Yeah.
and not have oral sex? The woman and the man, I just don't.
I don't understand
I'm
it.
not even sure I understand that. But people do get sort of things in their head, and I do think it depends on the relationship and lots of things. Sort of going back to the fantasy thing, I do think it's also okay for you to keep things to yourself if you feel that's just mine, that's a fantasy, and I don't want to bring it into the real life, into real life. And I'm not talking about, shall we say, elaborate, interesting, diverse fantasy. I'm just talking whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you don't want to discuss that. I also think that's fine.
100%. And it, honestly, like, if you do want to talk about with your partner, if you feel comfortable enough to do that,
Yeah.
and like if your partner maybe is a little bit more vanilla than you, or beige, as we say, but maybe it's okay for them to kind of get out of their shell as well. Maybe you're a vanilla person and you want to try something new. Like, yeah, like
100%.
I think that's great. I think you actually don't know what you like until you try it.
I 100% agree.
You know?
I 100% agree with that. But I also think it's about confidence.
Yeah.
And generally in a relationship, one person has more confidence. And it's not just about being sexually confident. It's about being confident in yourself, kind of naked.
Yeah.
And some people have more, probably in most relationships, have more confidence than the other person. And so you kind of get to a point where you're both very comfortable, and then you grow in confidence. So the person who wasn't confident grows in confidence. So I do think it is important to kind of share generally, because I think the other person, you never really know somebody unless you share some of your sort of fantasies. But on the flip side of that, what I am saying is it's still okay to not share if you don't want to, or you think, oh, this is my thing, and that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree with that, because honestly, like, as someone who has quite a few fantasies,
As we've established.
you know, like 10 a day, you know, like
10
I don't know.
day.
I have no idea. That's a number. I
Wow.
pull on my ass. But yeah, as someone who has maybe just a lot more fantasies than the regular person, I'm gonna bore someone to death with all of those. You know what I mean? I don't think anyone wants to know all of them. Like, that is a lot. And
Yeah.
I don't like
Might
I
not
don't want to
remember
share
them
them. Well, yeah, it's also just like, it's a very personal thing. Like, you don't have to share
No.
everything that's going on in your head all the time.
No, of course. And nobody, I think if you think anybody
Yeah.
that you're with as a human being, that you know exactly what's going on there in their head, then yeah. That's not happening. That doesn't happen. But, and I also think you may not kind of remember it fully,
100%.
you know, clearly.
Absolutely.
I think the generic fantasies that might be fun to share together, and either you laugh about it, or it's sexy, or you want to bring it into some kind of part of what you do. I think that's the thing. And I think, again, like, I bring back this point of sex is meant to be fun. It's not meant to be this arduous task on your
No.
to-do list to tick off. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be relaxing. You're meant to be able to laugh and communicate together and have, and again, I'm going to say it again, have some fun. It's not meant to be some giant performance that somebody's being graded on at the end of it.
Yeah.
So all in the
Unless
name.
that's your fantasy.
Well, that's true. Sort of, a lot of people are into that.
Schoolgirl.
And, yeah.
Okay, Melis, let's get to the facts.
Okay,
let's get to the real facts here.
Let me get to my facts.
Facts about fantasies.
Right. So in a study, and this is a 2012 study, so it's an older study, and it's from
People have become a lot more,
they have,
sexual
yeah.
since then, I feel
But these
like.
are sort of, I think, facts. As I'm not sure
Okay.
how much you can argue this stuff, biological stuff.
Right.
So this is from a site called My Hormonology. I can't even say .com, but anyway, I'll link it in the blog. So the first thing from this study is that, as we've said before, that we think that men have way more sexual fantasies than women. That is not the case, as we know. But this study said that men on average have one a day, and women have 0.77 per day.
0.77.
I know.
Men only have one fantasy a day.
It does sound like a
Oh
little.
my God. Who's doing this study?
I think it
There's
sounds like a
no
little.
fucking way.
But anyway, that's what the study. I didn't say this. The study said this.
Okay.
I think this is the more interesting thing, that for women during ovulation, you have more sexual fantasies due to a spike in libido from rising testosterone,
That's amazing.
which I think is very interesting. What's more, the study says these fantasies are far more arousing thanks to this same hormone. So, blah, blah, blah. What am I saying now? Well, there was also, according to this study, in the first half of your cycle, as your estrogen estrogen.
Estrogen.
This I'm getting mixed up. Rises, your fantasies focus more on the physical attributes of your fantasy partner. That's
Right, like
interesting.
his
Face,
body
chest.
or
Yeah,
their
I
body.
think so.
Sexy.
Yeah. So, but once ovulation arrives, your fantasies focus more on emotions.
Like you're
Because-
like, I want to have a baby with you. Let's.
yeah, because
fuck.
women do statistically have more romantic fantasies, so they're not just about sex. They're like
Right. They're like,
dreaming
take me out to
about
dinner and
their
then
wedding
fuck me in
and
the
their big
ass.
Okay. That's where Susie may differ. In this study, she would have been an interesting sample.
Yeah, that would have been terrifying for the scientists.
And then during ovulation, you tend to have more cast members. That's
I
hilarious.
love that.
That's why this article put it in your fantasies, and that so basically that you even if you are, let's say, even if you're gay, you might have a fantasy about being heterosexual. If you're heterosexual, you might have a fantasy about.
And it doesn't make you gay.
No.
Or it doesn't make
But
you
it's probably
straight.
no, it's just a fantasy.
Yeah.
And again, and I have to say, I think for men,
Yeah.
that is completely terrifying, and they're never going to admit it. But I would like to say to all the men out there who are heterosexual, and they're heterosexual, and they're
Manly men.
men,
Manly.
exactly. And if they have a fantasy about a man, it will scare the living shit out of them. But I would like you to know it's completely normal. It does not make you
Thank
gay.
you, Mama Mel.
And I know it's a terrifying thing, but it doesn't make you gay.
I don't know.
It's just a curiosity in your brain.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean anything. It's a fantasy. So stop getting so wound up about it.
And also, like, love is love, guys. If you want
It 100%
if you want to suck a
is.
dick, I think you should try it.
Okay, Susie.
All right.
Very helpful.
You're welcome.
But now I've completely lost where I am in my facts as usual.
Sorry, Mel.
So this is another study, healthline.com.
Yes.
Well, they just said that it's completely normal. Everyone has sexual fantasies. The entire human race, which I think is a bit of a sweeping statement because they don't know that. However, this is an interesting fact
Yes.
that men are more likely than other genders to have multi-partner or taboo fantasies,
Yeah.
and women are more likely to have BDSM or romance fantasies. So that's a big departure, BDSM and romance.
BDSM can be romantic.
No, I'm not saying they can't, but I'm just saying BDSM or romance.
Yeah.
It's
That's so funny.
and have them more frequently than other genders. Yeah. So anyway, those are my facts. I will link them all in the blog as usual. But I think most people would be surprised. I think the most important thing I would say about fantasies
Yeah.
is most people, if they have fantasies that they don't believe are in the realm of what they should be thinking about,
Yeah.
it freaks them out. And they worry and they torture themselves about it. Like I was just talking about men. If you're a heterosexual man and you happen to have a fantasy about having sex with another man, it freaks you out. It worries you. Please don't. It is a fantasy. It doesn't mean anything. And it could be, what it's like. You're thinking about this and your mind wanders to that. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And just relaxio.
Well, what's
about
interesting, I feel like it's like a lot of these fantasies actually, they stem from somewhere
It. Of course.
in your past, in your life.
Yeah, or they can stem from something you're doing or something
Just
you've
interest.
watched. Or
It doesn't mean like you want to have these
it
sexual encounters, but
it doesn't mean that
Yeah.
you want to bring them into the realm of your life.
No.
Or your lifestyle.
No.
So it can mean that you do. I think it can mean one or the other.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that you have to. And I do think for women, it's socially far more acceptable to kind of admit or to have fantasies about, same-sex relationships or whatever. For men, it's still a massive taboo.
100%.
And it's a huge, if a man admitted to one of his mates
Yeah.
that, he'd had a fantasy, he would just be ripped to shreds.
Or maybe all the guys are like, oh my God, same, bro. Maybe we should make out.
Yeah, but I don't think that would happen.
I mean, maybe. You don't know
maybe
until
it
you try.
does. But that's all I have to say on that, Susie.
Okay, well, I'm gonna. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're gonna talk about the 7 most common
Ah, okay.
sexual fantasies.
Yeah. Let's see if I think that there's something I haven't thought about.
Okay, I like this game. Okay, so the first one is multi-partner sex. So
Yeah.
obviously, like threesomes,
Obviously.
orgies, sex parties,
Gangbangs.
gangbangs, Mel's fave.
I hate that word.
It's a bad word, but
It's
it's
a
kind of
horrible
kind of
word.
hot.
Is it?
Know what my fantasy is? Okay. Just kidding. Just kidding, not kidding. Okay, so power, control, or rough sex fantasy.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think that's a
big one.
And
I think
particularly for women.
that's what I was gonna say. I think a lot of women want to be, because we have to be so. Women have to be dominant now in the world, you know? Feminism is a thing. It's a real thing. You know, we're all trying to get what we need to be without a man.
Yeah.
Sometimes we want to be dominated.
Yeah, I think it's the same for men.
Yes.
A lot of men who have to be very in control in their life, and they do everything, and in their private life or in their fantasy, they don't want to have to take control because it's exhausting.
100%.
And I think there's a huge element of that. Yeah.
100%. And then, okay, the next one is novelty, adventure, and variety fantasies.
Sort of like I said, in running through a field and then suddenly going, oh, yes, let's.
Yes, you get in a unicorn
You can
in your
deflower me here.
night. Oh, Jesus Christ.
And then it's wonderful, and then you run off back to your picnic.
That's so
Or something
funny.
like
I
that.
mean, yeah, I think there's ways that you can
And I just like to say that sort of thing never ends well, but anyway.
what doesn't end well?
Because I'm thinking about this comedian on British TV who was telling a story of that,
Yeah.
and it didn't end well.
Wait, didn't end well? What didn't end well?
So he he was getting together with this girl, and they were in this like field or like garden.
Oh,
place
you're
in
talking about like
England.
outdoor sex. It does
Yeah.
not end well.
And they're having a picnic. It's all, it's going so well, and they get into the mood, and they start having sex. And she's wearing this long floaty
Oh, sexy.
dress,
Yeah.
and she's on top of him, and it's amazing, and he thinks, my God, this is so magical. And then his grandpa turns up, and this girl
No.
is sitting astride him with her dress covering the bits that you need to cover. And of course, he's an old grandpa, and well, I mean,
Doesn't know what's going on.
no, and he starts chatting to her.
No.
while he is inside her.
No.
And she's like, and they have like a 15-minute conversation. So that's when, and they can't do anything, they can't move. And the grandpa thinks they're being really rude because she's just sitting on top of him and he's on the ground.
What is this grandpa doing?
I know. But I'm sure people have real stories like that.
I'm sure
And
they
we
do.
want to hear them.
Yeah, please tell us about them. That's so funny. That's hilarious. But yeah, so another fantasy, non-monogamy.
Yeah, obviously.
And that could be ethical non-monogamy, or it could just
I
be.
think this is a standard one.
Yeah, I mean, you know, not like, and obviously we talked about it. It's not cheating on your partner to have a fantasy about
not
someone
a fantasy,
else.
no.
No,
Because
of
it's in
course
your
not.
head. You can't cheat on yourself.
100%. And like, I mean, there's a part of this with men, right? Like cuckolding is a big fantasy, I find,
Yeah.
for men too.
It is a big one.
You know, which is so interesting to me
It is interesting.
because they wanna see their girl get fucked.
Yeah,
You know,
I
by
know.
another guy.
I know.
Whether that's someone he knows or doesn't know.
I know.
And I think that's actually a super, super common one.
I think it's very common now.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting. And that brings us to taboo and forbidden sex. So like stepdaddies,
Oh, God.
MILFs, you know?
Well, MILF's not that bad. Well, it depends who the MILF
Well,
is.
like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Let's say like your dad's friend's mother's godbrother.
Yeah. As long as you're not related.
No, of course not.
Mhm. God, oh, God. Now we're
So
getting to the
bad.
creepy.
I know. Hold on. Do we have any other good ones? So that's about it. I mean, there's all these the good ones, or there's like the really erotic ones, like the tantric ones, and then there's the romantic ones.
I don't
you
think
know.
any of this is
It's
at
but
all
it's nothing
shocking.
new. Exactly.
nothing
Like that's what we're saying. It's just sometimes you just have to talk about it with other people and talk about it with people you trust too. Like it's actually
Oh, yeah,
okay to
for sure.
if you don't want to keep it inside your head, talk about it with someone you trust. Maybe you don't want to talk about it with your partner, but you want to talk about it with
Yeah.
your
it's
best
quite-
friend.
Yeah, quite. If you have a girlfriend and like it, keep it light. It's funny.
It is funny
And
because we're all
if
having
you have
them.
that kind of relationship with the girlfriend, and most of us, well, some of us do, some of us don't, but you know, like you can keep it light
Mm-hmm.
and funny, and you want to do it, you want to talk about it. I think it's funny.
I think it's amazing. You know,
Yeah,
maybe you just want to lick someone's feet and you want to talk to
that
people about
is
that.
another huge thing. Feet.
It's crazy.
It's a big thing, which is interesting, isn't it?
I've always wanted to go on Feet Finder.
Feet. Oh my God, is that?
It's an actual thing.
Is it actually a thing?
Yeah, it's actually a thing.
Wow.
I think that's where the people find their feet.
I mean, you can sell anything these days. You
You
can sell
can.
used underwear. You can sell your pee. Apparently,
No, I mean,
there are men who buy women's pee.
no, please no.
Oh
Please.
yeah,
Please no.
I mean, I have to say, I heard this in another podcast, so I won't name that podcast. But yeah, they sell and in Japan they have vending machines with used underwear.
No, they goddamn don't.
I mean, how does one quality check this? I'm not
Exactly.
sure. Yeah, but used underwear is a thing.
Well,
And
I
you
mean,
know, men that used to be like the sort of peeping Tom who nick the knickers off the washing line. Do you know what I'm saying when I'm talking about that?
no, that was absolutely gibberish to me.
Nick the knickers off the washing line. But
Oh,
then they'd
okay,
be
so-
clean, so I'm not sure why they'd want them. But maybe that's a fantasy thing. They want somebody's
100%.
knickers who are not knickers of a person they could have.
I
in
mean,
their
we
life.
just had a podcast about this, babe. Voyeurism.
Yeah. Nick the knickers.
Nick
I
the
mean,
knickers.
it's highly illegal. So
Peeping
don't,
Tom.
don't be doing that.
Oh my god, that's hilarious though.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't be everything all at once, but you can just fantasize about it.
You can.
And
You
that's the
can.
beauty of it. You can actually just go into your little brain and see what you like and see what you don't like also.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's entertainment, isn't it?
It is. It's your own entertainment.
That's what it's meant to be.
Entertainment.
Entertainment.
That was beautiful, Mel.
Well, this was an interesting chat. Have we learned anything?
Maybe.
I think we did.
I think we did.
I learned a bit about the hormonal thing. I mean, I think that makes sense, but I think we've
Makes a
learned
lot of
something.
sense.
And I would like to say,
Yes.
if we are pushing the needle, that's a good one, isn't it?
Very good.
On the shame dial.
Mm-hmm.
So I stop feeling shame. I think
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
100%, guys. Don't feel shame about your fantasies.
No,
We're all doing it.
everyone's doing it. So if you think you're thinking something, look at the next person. They're probably thinking something.
Yeah, and you can talk to someone about it. Don't talk to a stranger on the bus about it. That's not what
No,
you
I'd
want
be
to
a
do.
little bit careful who you chat with. Remember the story about the grandpa. But just be a little careful who you share with. I'm all for sharing.
Share with us, though.
Yeah, we're with a non-judgment zone.
That's right. And you can share with us anytime at Sharing My Truth Pod on any of our socials, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, blah, 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 YouTube. Whatever you
Absolutely.
want.
And if you want to send us a story,
send us a story.
you can DM us, you can email us,
Go
you
to our
can leave us a
website.
voicemail, which people do, which is great. And you don't obviously have to leave your name. It's all on our website, sharingmytruth.com.
Yeah.
And follow. We want to build this community. It's amazing. And it's so amazing hearing the stories, isn't
Yes.
it?
And thank you guys so much for being a part of this. And I think that's all for us this week, darling.
That's all for this week.
I'm going to fantasize about this now.
Oh, yeah.
I am.
Wow. Okay.
I'll let you guys think about that one.
Mm-hmm. You think on. Speak soon.
I love you, babes. Have a great week. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening. Please rate and review this podcast and follow us on social at Sharing My Truth Pod and leave us a voicemail on our website, sharingmytruth.com, to share your stories and experiences with us. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.